Hi, my name's Jim Reeve. I'd like you to think about your smartphone or your iPhone. I know with mine, I've got apps on all my pages here. I probably have about 50 apps on my phone. Now here's the question that I have for you. How do I learn how to operate each of these apps? I mean, some of them are sort of complicated. Well, the answer is not that there's a user's manual for each one of them. And in fact, when I bought this phone, this is an Apple as it turns out, it came in a little white box. And guess what? There wasn't a user's manual in that box either. And so how do I learn this? I learn it by seeing information at the time that I need it. In the software, I can roll over my thumb on the software, and I might roll it over a question mark, and right at that place, I'll get an instruction how a particular functionality of that software works. Well, that's how our students are learning. If you think about your students, I know they're a lot like mine, they don't think in a user's manual type of mindset. So picture this with me. Here's one of our students sitting down, getting ready to do their homework. Well, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night probably, maybe later. Well, okay. This is probably what they're not doing. They're probably not opening up the book to the first page of the chapter and reading sequentially the whole chapter, taking nice notes, and then deciding to do the assignments. Now, most likely, your student are going to be a lot like mine, and they're very directed towards delivering the deliverables that are assigned to them. And as a result, they go to the end of chapter assignments, and then they're searching for that answer. Just like they've done as they've learned how to play games, how they've worked their apps, how they solve any of their problems, they'll Google the answer. This is the way this generation has learned how to assimilate information. Well, as authors, we have written the book in order to be useful to this generation. And by that, what I mean is we've looked at every paragraph, every sentence, and we have made it concise, we've made it efficient, we've made it accessible to these students. Let me give you an example. Here's a page from the cost of fixed assets. And so let's say the student has an assignment to determine the cost of building an equipment or the cost of land. And as you and I know, there's a number of items that they might need to consider. Well, instead of having to read a paragraph where those items are buried in a long sentence somewhere, we've identified the bullet points for each of building machinery and equipment and land so that the student can very quickly identify exactly what they need to know in order to be able to do the assignment. Let's take a look at another example. Here's natural resources. Well, in natural resources, we actually have a number of steps that we're going to accomplish in order to be able to determine the amount of depletion. The first thing we want to do is determine the depletion rate, and then we want to multiply that rate by the quantity of resources that are being extracted in order to determine the depletion. There's two steps. There's a formula that's involved. And then we want to take an example and then apply those two steps, and so we run the two steps in the context of an example. The point is that the learning pathway is identified. We actually clearly show where the steps are so that the students of this time, this age, are able to assimilate the information that we provide them in this text. Thank you.